Welcome to Blender Cinematic.
Let's open a new blend file, delete the cube and add a mesh plane. Press S to scale and input 100. Press Ctrl A and apply all transforms. Let's open the N panel, and in the City Builder 3D Add-on tab, let's add a small building to the scene. Move the building on the x-axis. Let's take a closer look at the building. Let's say our project requires 10,000 buildings in a 100 by 100 array. So let's head to the snapping tool and select vertex and enable snapping. Let's select the building, and in top view, move the building and snap to the plane's vertex as the starting point of the array. Under Properties tab on the right, click on Modifiers and add an array modifier. Change the factor to -2.4 and the count to 100. So far, so good. Now let's add another array modifier. Here, change the factor to -2.4. Seems like the placement is off. Let's try a factor of 2.4. The placement is still off. The reason is scale and rotation for the building mesh must be applied. So let's do it. Cool. Now let's change the count to 10. The array looks good, but the RAM and VRAM starting to flood. Now let's change the count to 100. Uh-oh, we get a message saying the amount of copies is too high. We cannot generate the amount of geometry it would require. So it seems like we've reached the limit of the array modifier in Blender. Now let's delete all the modifiers. Every time we delete something in Blender, it's most likely unlinked but still exists in the blend file. So I usually purge the orphan data. This is done through PowerSave add-on, or in the Blender outliner, instead of view layer, select orphan data and click on purge a couple of times. Let's move the building away from the plane. While the plane is selected, let's tab into edit mode and right-click on the mesh and select subdivide. At the bottom left, open the subdivide panel and change the number of cuts to 98. There we go. So we have 10,000 vertices. While the plane is selected, let's go to Modifier Properties and add Geometry Nodes Modifier and click New. Now head to the Geometry Nodes workspace on the top. In the Geometry Nodes panel at the bottom, we see a group input, which is our mesh, and group output, which is our result. Let's press Shift A and in the search box type Instances. Select Instances on Points node, and as soon as it is moved on the noodle, the nodes auto-connect. Geometry input to points and instances to geometry output. Also, add a join geometry node in the same way. Now connect geometry input to the join geometry to also see the plane. Now click and drag the building object from the outliner to the geometry nodes editor panel. This becomes the object info node. Connect geometry to instance. This links the building to every vertex in the plane mesh, successfully generating an array of 10,000 buildings that we were looking for. This is just the basics of the power of the geometry nodes. In the coming tutorials, we will dive into the various features of geometry nodes for modeling and animations. The RAM and VRAM footprint is also very low for geometry nodes method. Seems like the RAM requirement here is about 20 times lower than when using array modifier in the specific example. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked this video, and if you do, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel Blender Cinematic.